The evolution of Yahweh, syncretism, sacrifice, and esoteric continuity. Yahweh's origins and Canaanite roots. Yahweh did not emerge in a vacuum. Early references to Yahweh appear in southern regions, such as Edom, Midian, and Teman, indicating he may have originated as a desert or warrior deity. However, as the Hebrews, who were ethnically and culturally indistinct from their Canaanite neighbors, settled in the Levant, Yahweh underwent significant transformation. The ancient Hebrews were essentially a subset of Canaanites, later known more broadly as Phoenicians. Archaeological evidence, such as the linguistic similarities between Hebrew and Phoenician, and cultural parallels in religion and iconography, reinforce this connection. Baal and Yahweh, syncretic worship and shared identity. Baal Hadid, the Canaanite storm and fertility god, was central to the religious life of the region. He was known as the rider on the clouds, a title also attributed to Yahweh in the Hebrew Bible. For example, Psalm 68:4, over time, Yahweh absorbed many of Baal's attributes. In the earlier stages of Israelite religion, the two deities were often indistinguishable in function and iconography. Biblical texts reflect the Israelites' syncretic practices. Baal worship was widespread among the early Israelites, including child sacrifices and blood offerings, especially in times of crisis. The story of Elijah's battle with Baal's prophets, 1 Kings 18, is not just religious polemic. It reveals how deeply intertwined Baal and Yahweh had become. Moloch, deity and ritual. Moloch, mentioned in the Bible as an abomination, is both a deity and a sacrificial practice. Associated with child sacrifice by fire, Moloch worship was practiced by Canaanites and Israelites alike. Some scholars argue Moloch wasn't a specific god, but a type of offering, MLK, often presented to Yahweh or Baal during times of desperation. Astarte, the divine consort. Astarte, or Asherah, was widely worshipped as the consort of Baal, and by extension, Yahweh. Inscriptions from 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗏𝗃 and other sites show Yahweh paired with his Asherah. This female divine presence was systematically erased by later Yahwist reformers, but her role as a goddess of fertility, war, and love was foundational in early Israelite religion. Christian esotericism and the legacy of Canaanite religion. With the rise of Christianity, especially after the conversion of the Roman Empire, many pagan and Semitic religious symbols were reinterpreted or subsumed under Christian doctrine. Esoteric Christianity preserved fragments of older traditions, encoding them into mystical and alchemical texts. Saturn, Satan, and syncretic shadows. The god Saturn, associated with time, agriculture, and judgment, shares symbolic attributes with Yahweh, particularly in his later portrayal as a stern, law-giving deity. Saturn's darker aspects were demonized and eventually associated with Satan. Similarly, Lucifer, the Light Bearer, and Samael, angel of death and poison, are figures that evolved from these religious shifts, often representing suppressed knowledge and divine rebellion. The Nephilim, mysterious beings of Genesis, are often linked with these themes, hybrid entities born of divine-human unions, echoing myths from Mesopotamia and Canaan. Egyptian influence and Phoenician continuity. Canaanite religion was heavily influenced by Egyptian theology, especially during periods of Egyptian dominance in the Levant. Gods such as Horus, Ra, Set, Isis, and to find echoes in Canaanite and later Israelite figures, and vice versa. These syncretic overlaps show how ancient religions borrowed and reinterpreted divine archetypes to fit evolving theological frameworks. The Phoenicians, particularly those in Carthage, preserved these traditions through trade and colonization. Carthage, Christianity, and hidden continuity. After Rome's conquest of Carthage, many Phoenician Jews and Canaanite-descended peoples were forcibly converted to Christianity, especially under Roman Catholicism. However, Many continued their practices covertly, replacing Baal with Christ, Astarte with Mary, and sacrificial rituals with the Eucharist. This blending allowed the old gods to live on under new names. Hellenistic assimilation and Greek syncretism. The ancient Greeks, through their expansive philosophical and religious traditions, absorbed and reinterpreted Semitic deities into their own pantheon. Baal and Astarte found analogues in Zeus and Aphrodite, while the mystery surrounding Yahweh merged with Orphic and Dionysian rites. This cultural cross-pollination helped preserve and transform these ancient deities into forms more palatable to the Greco-Roman worldview, embedding them within Neoplatonism and early Hermetic thought. Sumerian influence and mythological foundations. Long before the rise of Israelite religion, the Sumerians of Mesopotamia had already laid the foundations of divine archetypes that would permeate the ancient world. Deities like Enlil, Enki, Inanna, and Utu represented forces of nature, cosmic law, and duality. Many elements of Yahweh, Baal, and Astarte have roots in these Sumerian gods, including the divine masculine and feminine, celestial authority, and the sacred balance of order and chaos. Serpent and sun symbolism, divine dualities, and portals. The serpent and sun were powerful symbols in ancient religious systems. The serpent represented knowledge, rebirth, and cyclical wisdom, while the sun symbolized illumination, power, and divine authority. These symbols were often paired with the moon to express the dual nature of existence, light and dark, male and female, conscious and subconscious. Twin deities, gatekeepers, and divine portals between worlds reflect the ancient understanding of balance and transformation. These archetypes were essential to both the exoteric stories, told to the masses, and the esoteric mysteries, reserved for the initiated. The eye and the sun, vision and illumination. The symbolism of the sun often accompanies that of the eye, revealing a metaphysical interplay between the source of light and the faculty of perception. The sun emits the divine illumination necessary for life and knowledge, while the eye, especially in ancient symbolism, represents awareness, enlightenment, and divine insight. Together, they form a sacred dyad, the external manifestation of divine presence and the internal capacity to comprehend it, hermaphroditism and divine androgyny. Across numerous ancient traditions, the divine was often perceived as both male and female, embodying the totality of existence. Deities such as Hermes Aphrodite, Hermaphroditus, 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗏𝗏 in Hinduism, and even certain Gnostic interpretations of divine beings reflect this sacred androgyny. The image of Baphomet, a figure later adopted by occult traditions, embodies this principle with its male and female traits, including both sexual organs. This synthesis of opposites was symbolic of unity, transcendence, and the bridging of spiritual dualities. Exoteric versus esoteric religion, the hidden mysteries. Religious traditions throughout history have maintained a dual structure, an exoteric layer for public worship, law, and morality, and an esoteric layer reserved for initiates. The mysteries, from the Egyptian priesthood to the Eleusinian rites, from the Kabbalah to Gnostic teachings, contained knowledge thought to powerful or sacred for the general populace. These teachings were meant to awaken the divine spark within, to reveal hidden truths about the cosmos and the self, often symbolized through allegory, ritual, and encoded language. This concealed tradition has continuously flowed beneath the surface of mainstream religion, influencing prophets, mystics, and secret societies alike. Conclusion: Yahweh's evolution from a southern tribal deity into the monotheistic God of Israel reflects centuries of religious syncretism. The early Hebrews, as Canaanites, shaped their god in the image of Baal, Moloch, Astarte, and other regional powers. Through conquest, reform, and assimilation, these older deities were not erased but transformed, their symbols and meanings embedded within the fabric of Judaism, Christianity, and Western esotericism. This transformation allowed ancient traditions to survive within new religious frameworks, veiled by exoteric doctrine, reserved through esoteric transmission. From the child sacrifices of Canaan to the mystical rites of the Kabbalah, from the sun temples of Egypt to the cathedrals of Europe, the divine story of Yahweh is one of metamorphosis and continuity. It is the tale of gods reborn through time, concealed in symbols, sustained by ritual, and revealed only to those who seek beyond the surface of faith.